Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. We continue with the Bhagavatam Canto 8, Chapter 15. These are incredible pastimes of Vamandev and Bali Maharaj. So glorious parts of the Bhagavatam, as all parts of Bhagavatam are glorious, but some are a little bit more easier to digest or go through. These are definitely really nice ones to go through. So this is I think it's the last verse of this chapter, chapter 15. So I wanted to seek your good wishes, your blessings, so that we can continue with our overview.
Pujita Shriyam Sviridam Dvija Devopalam Ambitam Kitakrityam Ivatmanam Manya Mano Mahamanaha. Because of the favor of the Brahmins, the great soul Bali Maharaj, thinking himself very satisfied, became very opulent and prosperous and began to enjoy the kingdom.
Favor of the Brahmanas or the Brahmins. So now we're going to see the power of the Brahmins, that even the Lord himself won't go against the Brahmins. So this is really powerful stuff. Bali Maharaj conquers the heavenly planets. So the summary of this chapter is how after he performed the Vishwajit Yagya, he received the blessing of a benediction of a chariot and different types of paraphernalia to wage war. And of course, he used that to attack Indra. And all the demigods, including Indra, became afraid. They left the heavenly planets and they went away after their guru instructed them to go away. And the guru is a Brahmin as well. So let's have a look at what happened. Maharaj Parikshit queries the contradictions regarding Vaman and Bali. So what happened was in the 14th chapter, 2 chapters before this one, 13th chapter, Parikshit Maharaj was describing the different Manvantaras, and he described also the 6 personalities. And one of them he talked about was one of the Indras, Bali, who's the Indra in the next Manvantara, after this the current one that we're in. And he explained in very small summary that how Bali offered charity to the Lord, who took it and imprisoned him. And Parikshit Maharaj was shocked. So here, chapter 15, he asked the question. He wanted to understand how Lord Vaman, on the plea of taking 3 places of land from Maharaj Bali, took everything away from him and also arrested him. He wanted to know the mystery of the contradictions. Wait a minute, he's saying. Why did the Lord have to beg anything anyway? He's a proprietor of everything. And, okay, he begged 3 places of land from Bali Maharaj, like he's a poor man. And when he got this gift, he nonetheless arrested Bali Maharaj. So these are contradictions. These are things that not necessarily easy to understand in the ordinary course of events. So Maharaj Parikshit, he asked the questions from Sukadeva Goswami. In the fight between the demons and the demigods, so Sukadeva Goswami is answering. This, as described in the 11th chapter of this canto, Bali was defeated. So if you recall, they took the nectar from the ocean, and that was stolen from the demons. It was stolen by the demons. Mohini retrieved it and fed it all to the demigods. But yet, there was always this underlying current with the demigods. They've not quite pleased Brihaspati. If devotees recall, some long time back, Brihaspati was insulted by Indra. And as a result, they lost the kingdom of heaven. So again, same sort of undercurrent is there Brihaspati hasn't completely forgiven Indra, or he's not completely pleased with Indra. So even though they got the nectar from the churning of the ocean, still the demigods were being defeated by Bali. But now, actually, now the last time they fought, Bali was defeated. In fact, he died in the battle. But by the grace of Sukracharya, if devotees recall, he, through the Sanjeevani, he regained his life. And then he engaged himself in the service of Sukracharya, his spiritual master. And the descendants of Bhrigu Muni, very powerful sage, being pleased with him, engaged him in the Vishvajit Yagya. So Bali Maharaj, he made preparations to attack Indra. After offering his obeisances to Prahlad, Prahlad is his grandfather. His father is Virochan, whose father was Prahlad. After offering obeisances to Prahlad, the Brahmins, the spiritual master Sukracharya, he got on to the chariot given to him by Sukracharya. He was decorated with a nice garland. He put on his protective armor on his body, equipped himself with a bow and took up a sword and quiver of arrows. Then he departed to fight with Indra. And he went to Indrapuri with his soldiers. And then there's a description of Indrapuri, really interesting description from text 12 to text 21 in this chapter. This is the description of the pinnacle of the heavens. Celestial atmosphere. It's full of orchards, gardens, flowers, fruits, leaves, pairs of chirping birds and singing bees. Beautiful women sport in gardens with ponds full of swans and chakravaks, surrounded by trenches of Ganga, known as Akash Ganga, fenced by a fire-colored high wall upon which were parapets for fighting, golden doors, marble gates, public roads. The city was constructed by Vishwakarma. He's the Devata in charge of, the architect. Full of courtyards, roads, assembly houses, at least 100 million airplanes, jeweled crossroads with sitting places made of diamonds and corals. This is heaven, by the way, not the spiritual world, but they seem very similar. Everlastingly beautiful and youthful Shyam women dressed in clean garments glittered in the city like fires with flames. Breezes carry the fragrance of flowers fallen from the hair of women. Apsaras passed on the street covered with fragrant smoke of aguru incense. Canopies decorated with pearls and palace domes with flags of pearl and gold. Vibrations of peacocks, pigeons, and bees. Airplanes full of beautiful women singing auspicious songs. Filled with sound of musical instruments. Constant dancing and singing. So it's a place of enjoyment. But it's still in this material world. And if we're not careful, if due to our piety, hopefully some piety and bhakti, we end up on this plane, perhaps going upwards. This will be en route. The heavens will be en route. And if we look down and see and perhaps want to enjoy in this place, then that's where we'll end up. So we've got to be really careful that even the temptations of heaven should not entice us away from our goal of the target of the spiritual world. But you can see heaven is quite a heavenly place, but it's temporary. This is the problem. It's almost like the spiritual world, but you can't stay there forever. You have to come back we have to come back when the karma is finished. So also text number 22 discusses the disqualifications to stay in heaven. So this is quite interesting, because often we think, okay, we can attain heaven, but actually irreligious or sinful people cannot enter heaven. That's straightforward. Envious, violent cheaters cannot stay there. Proud, lusty, and greedy people cannot stay there. People in the heavens are devoid of all such faults. So actually, it's not so easy to get to heaven either. So why bother trying to get to somewhere which is very hard anyway? Why not just aim for the topmost place and we hope for the best? So that's a description of heaven and the qualifications to stay there. And then the fight, blowing his concho, Bali attacked Indra's kingdom from all directions. It was a tremendous fight. Bali was in complete control. When Indra and the demigods saw Bali's indeflatable endeavor and prowess, they went to their own spiritual. Because remember, they thought he was dead. So they were shocked to see him. What's he still alive? Why is he still alive? We'd killed him. But Sukracharya had revived him. Not just revived him, but he had unlimited strength now. And the demigods, although they'd drunk the nectar of from the ocean, churning of the ocean, they still could not defeat Bali. Now he seems so strong. So they went to their spiritual master, Brihaspati, and they told him, hey, Bali is so strong, he's come back, he's so fierce. And they inquire, how is it possible that Bali's got so much strength and so much enthusiasm? Last time we saw him, he was dead. So initially Indra, he was quite confident, but then Bali just overpowered him. This is an interesting picture of the horses fighting with between the demigods and the demons. And this is where the demons are sort of taking charge. So then Brihaspati, he advises the demigods. Brihaspati informs the demigod that because Bali has been endowed with extraordinary power by the Brahman descendants of Bhrigumuni, as Sukracharya, etc., being pleased by Bali, Maharaj Bali, Brihaspati hinted to Indra that the demigods are no less powerful. So he said to him that, don't be surprised. The Brahman descendants of Bhrigu Muni, they have bestowed their blessings on Bali, and that's why they're so strong. And he's saying to him, you can get the same blessings from me. The demigods are no less powerful than the demons. And if the Brahmins, i.e. if Brihaspati and the other Brahmins become pleased with you, Indra, with the Devata's devotion and faith, you will also be full of the Brahman's prowess immediately, and we will be victorious. But Indra didn't get the hint. The demigods were a little bit puffed up. They didn't. Bali Maharaj was very, very submissive and humble towards the Brahmins. Whereas Indra and the demigods, they had taken the nectar. They were thinking, invincible now, no problem, nobody can defeat us. So they didn't care for the Brahmins. They didn't show respect to the Brahmins. So they didn't get the blessings of the Brahmins. The blessings of Guru are more powerful than one's personal endeavor. By carrying out the order of Guru and by his pleasure, one can get extremely powerful, especially in spiritual advancement. This is why Guru is recommended. He can really assist us in our spiritual endeavors. Brihaspati then advised demigods that you cannot fight with Bali in such circumstances. Their only hope was to gain the favor of the Supreme Lord. You don't want my blessings, or you can't earn my blessings? Try earning the blessings of Supreme Lord. Indeed, there was no alternative. So Brihaspati advised the demigods to leave the heavenly planets and keep themselves somewhere invisible. That's one of their potencies. They can hide themselves, become invisible. Preempting Indra's question of how will the demons be ever defeated, Brihaspati pacified Indra and explained that when Bali insults the Brahmins, he will be vanquished along with his friends and assistants. So it shows the power of the Brahmins. Bali conquers the universe. The demigods followed Brihaspati's order. They left the heavens, and Bali, along with his associates, gained the entire kingdom of Indra. The descendants of Bhrigu Muni, being very affectionate to their disciple Bali, engaged him in performing 100 Ashwamedha Yagyas in order to keep his position as the king of heaven stable. And Bali complied. In this way, Bali, thinking himself very satisfied, became very opulent and enjoyed the opulences of the heavenly planets. So that's the end of chapter 15. Any questions, any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Nanivan.
Yeah, what is the lifespan of Indra?
His lifetime is one Manu, 306 million years. 306 million years.
Less than the Brahmas.
Oh God, yes. Okay. Nothing compared to Brahma. Absolutely nothing compared to the Brahmas.
Okay.
Yeah. Very, very tiny. And Indra, remember, is only a position. It's like a position of king of heaven.
Yes.
So it's not a, it's not, okay, here we go. Life of one Manu. Yeah, 306 million years. That's how long he. So there's 6 types of personalities. One of them is Indra. That in that lifespan of Manu, that Indra will also be present. So next Indra is going to be Bali Maharaj.
Bali Maharaj, yes.
So, yeah, not a long. I mean, it's a long life, of course, but compared to Lord Brahma, it's nothing. It's hardly 0.1%, I think, if that.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay. So let's have a look at chapter 16. Okay, let's do this verse. Chapter 16, text 20. Upartishthasva purusham bhagavan tvam janadhanam sarvabhuta guha basam vasudevam jagat gurum. Naniben, would you like to read?
Ji Prabhuji. My dear Aditi, engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the master of everything, who can subdue everyone's enemies and who sits within everyone's heart. Only that Supreme Person, Krishna or Vasudeva, can bestow all auspicious benedictions upon everyone, for he is the spiritual master of the universe. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is advice given to Aditi by Kashyap Muni, her husband, Dharampati. So this chapter is about executing this Payovrata process of worship. When the demigods had to leave heaven, Aditi, the mother of the demigods, was very afflicted. Her husband, Kashyap Muni, told her how to observe vows in austerity for the benefit of her son. So this time, it wasn't the demigods who pleaded with Vishnu. They'd done so much pleading already, but this time they left it for their mother. So what happened in this chapter? Kashyap Muni returns home. Since the demigods were not visible in the heavenly kingdom, their mother Aditi, because of separation from them, was very much aggrieved. as if she had no protector. One day, after many, many years, the sage Kashyap emerged from a trance of meditation and returned to his ashram. He saw that the ashram was no longer beautiful and that his wife was very morose. Everywhere in the ashram, he saw signs of lamentation. The great sage therefore inquired from his morose-looking wife about the well-being of religious principles, the Brahmins, or people in general, and he talked about, have you not been offering proper oblations with ghee to the fire, to the yagya? Have you been disrespectful to our guests, especially those who are uninvited, atiti? They've not been properly received. Why is, and this is really interesting, in one of the verses it says, homes from which guests go away without having been received, even with the offering of a little water, I like those halls in the field which are homes of jackals. So even if somebody we don't like come to our home, the minimum we must do is give them some water, minimum. But actually it said that if an uninvited guest come, they actually to be treated like God. Even if you don't like them, they should not have that feeling that this person does not like me. Should be treated very, very nicely. Aditi's lamentation. After Aditi informed Kashyap Muni about the ashram's well-being, because she told him, no, I have treated everybody nicely. I've offered yagya, ghees, oblations. But she told him that she was lamenting for the absence of her sons. She then requested him, because they had been conquered by Bali. The demons had conquered heaven. She then requested him to tell her how her sons could return and reoccupy their positions. She wanted all good fortune for her sons. What do you think Kashyap Muni's reaction was? Anybody like to have a guess? Or perhaps you read it. What was his reaction?
Was he surprised?
Why was he surprised? Why was he surprised? I think he was surprised. He was surprised, yeah. He was surprised. Why?
No, the condition of his wife.
Yeah. Yeah, he was surprised by the condition of his wife. But why do you think he was surprised?
He was surprised, Hare Krishna, he was surprised because he did not expect such a kind of lamentation from his wife, because his wife was so elevated just like himself. So good. Then that's why he was surprised.
Good. No, very good, Maji. Yes, absolutely. He was moved by Aditi's request. Kashyap Muni instructed her in the philosophy of self-realization, the difference between matter and spirit, how to be unaffected by material loss. He was amazed how the whole world is influenced by affection, right? How the whole world, including his wife, is amazed by affection. So he preached all of this to Aditi, but still she was not satisfied, right? Even after he gave her such incredible instructions. So then he said, okay, if you're so attached to your children, then he advised her to worship Vasudeva, Janardhan. And he assured her that only Vasudeva could satisfy her and fulfill all her desires. So when Aditi expressed her desire to worship Lord Vasudeva, she was happy. Yes, I want to do it. How do I do it? Prajapati Kashyap told her about a process of worship known as Payovrat. Now, we've done this before. Anybody recall when? And in what situation?
What, Prabhuji?
Where have we seen this before? Where the husband is explaining to the wife about a process of worshipping the Lord in order to please the Lord. Do you remember? Who?
Kashyapa Muni?
Yeah, this is Kashyap Muni. There was another incredible person. Oh, no, it is Kashyap.
Kardama Muni?
Actually, was it Kardama? Who was the father of Kapil?
Kapila Dev, isn't it?
Yeah,
Kardama Muni.
Kardama Muni.
And
yeah, he goes away and he tells.
He goes away and Kapila Muni instructs.
Yeah. And what was the wife's name of Kardama Muni?
Devahuti.
Yeah, that's it.
Well done.
Very excellent. Excellent. So similar thing happens. So, but this is a lot shorter. Her one was a whole month during Kartik. This is 12 days. He told of a process of worship known as Payovrata, which is executed in 12 days. Lord Brahma had instructed him how to satisfy Lord Krishna by this process, where Kashyap desired offspring. When Kashyap desired offspring. And thus he advised his wife to observe this vow and its regulatory principles. There are four kinds of people, right? Bhagavad Gita explains this. There's the distressed, artha. There's one who's desire for wealth, arti. There's the inquisitive, jignasu.
Who is inquisitive?
Yes.
Who is distressed?
Yep.
Who is who wants wealth? And
searching.
Searching for knowledge.
And he is anxious to know.
Yes, searching for the absolute truth. Jnani. So which one is Aditi?
In that four?
Yeah.
Is she in distress? She's in distress.
She's distressed. Good.
So I think inquisitive and distress.
Not inquisitive. She wasn't in inquisitive mood. She was in a distressed mood. She wanted her sons back. So then there's Kashyap Muni.
I also told that first though.
Yeah. Kashyap Muni then explains the process of worship. He says, first you pay obeisances to the Lord, who is the greatest of all persons, the dweller in everyone's heart. He's the all-pervading Vasudev, witness of everything. His qualities are never visible to mature eyes, very subtle and transcendental. He's a supreme person. He knows the 24 elements, and he's the inaugurator of Sankhya Yoga system. And the form of the Lord you have to worship, the Yagya Purush, he has two heads, Prayaniya and Udayaniya, introduction and conclusion of Yagya. He has 3 legs, 3 periods of the day. There's 4 horns, which are the 4 Vedas, 7 hands, 7 chandas or meters, or such as the Gayatri. And then is a soul of 3 Vedic rituals, Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, Upasana Kand. And part of the worship is Lord Shiva or Lord Indra, the reservoir of all pleasure, knowledge and master of everyone. Hiranya Garbha. So this is who, Garbha means like the womb, the source of life, super soul of every living entity. These are different mantras whose body is the source of opulence of all mystic powers, the original master of all mystic yoga. And then another mantra, the original or personality of Godhead, witness of everything within the heart of everyone. Naranarayan Rishi in the form of a human being. His bodily hue resembles Marakata gem. Oops, sorry, let me just get this. Has full control over the goddess of fortune. He's dressed in yellow garments. It's a killer of the Keshi demon. Keshav, giver of all benedictions to all jivas, most worthy of worship, best of bestowers of benedictions, the source of all auspiciousness, worshipped by the demigods, the goddess of fortune who serves his lotus feet. So then there are also other rules. You have to welcome the Lord by chanting all these mantras with faith and devotion, offer him various items of worship. You offer Dwadas Sara mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, offer garlands, incense, and so on. Bathe the deity with milk and dress him. Offer sacred thread, ornaments, and other paraphernalia. Offer fine rice boiled in milk with clarified butter and molasses. Offer prasad to the Vaishnav and then take some yourself. Offer achaman and betel nut to the deity later. Silently chant the mantras 108 times. Offer prayers and dandavats. Touch the offered flowers to one's head and throw them in a sacred place. Feed sweet rice to at least 2 Brahmins. Take prasad with the permission of the Brahmins who have been honored. Observe celibacy at night. Next day, again, worship the Lord as done the first day. For 12 days, one should worship Lord Vishnu with great faith and devotion, and living only by drinking milk. One should also offer oblations to the fire and feed the Brahmins. From the 1st to the 13th, until the 13th day of the next bright moon, Shukla Triyodashi, one should observe complete celibacy, sleep on the floor, bathe thrice a day, and thus execute the vow. During this period, one should avoid material talks, sense gratification, remain free from envy, keep pure, and be a simple devotee of Lord Vasudeva. So this is the vrat that Kashyap Muni advised Aditi to follow. And she did it. She did it. Then after that, on the 13th day, following the directions of the scriptures, with help from the Brahmins who knows these scriptures, one should bathe Vishnu with 5 substances: milk, yogurt, ghee, sugar, honey. One should arrange for a gorgeous worship of Vishnu. With great attention, one must prepare an oblation of grains boiled in ghee and milk and must chant the Purusha Shukta mantra. One should please the Guru and his assistants by offering them clothing, ornaments, and cows. And then he carries on. By distributing prasad, one should satisfy everyone assembled, including even the lowest of men. Knowing that Lord Vishnu is very pleased when everyone is sumptuously fed with Vishnu prasad, the performer of the yajna, i.e. Aditi, should then take prasad with his or her friends and relatives. This Payo Yajna is also known as Sarva Yajna. Kashyap Muni received this from Brahma. By performing this sacrifice, one can perform all of the sacrifices automatically. This is also acknowledged to be the best of all ritualistic ceremonies, and it is the essence of all austerities. By this process, the Supreme Person will very soon be pleased and will satisfy one's desires. So this was the advice that was given by Kashyap Muni to Aditi. And she was very determined. So she followed the vrat, and she gained the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So that's the end of chapter 16. Chapter 16, Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th Canto Ki Jai. Any questions, any comments?
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Naniman.
Hare Krishna. This Prayo Yagna,
yeah,
people can do it these days? Do they do it? Or?
I think they probably do, especially in the south of Bharat. because this is a little bit involved, and you know, in South usually they're quite strong on the scriptures, much more perhaps than in the North. So I suspect that the Brahmin community in the south of India, many will be following these traditions, but it's not recommended in the age of Kali Yuga to follow this anymore. It's because to follow this is a little bit hard, but also there's a motive behind it. I want something from God, you know, so it's almost like a business transaction. So when, for example, Dhruv Maharaj, see, Narad Muni could have given him the same thing. You do it like this. He knew this is a small boy and I can't impose too much on him. But Narad Muni, when he meets people, he doesn't give them this process. It's generally for the grihasthas, those who are married. But what did he give to Dhruv Maharaj? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And of course, it took some time for Dhruv Maharaj to get the darshan of the Lord. But if you see the mood of Dhruv Maharaj and you see the mood of Aditi, it's such a big difference. Because Dhruv Maharaj, when he saw the Lord, he realized, what have I done? I was asking for broken glass and I got diamonds. And the Lord said to him, I will fulfill your desire. And Dhruv Maharaj said, no need to. I don't need anything. I've seen you. That's enough. I'm happy. Whereas Aditi, even after taking darshan of the Lord, she didn't have that same mood. The mood was different. The mood was, I want you to protect my sons. She could have said to the Lord, give me mukti. Dhruv didn't even say that. Nor did Prahlad. They didn't even say, give me liberate, take me out of this crazy world. They were just happy to see. They were just happy to see the Lord. So a lot depends on the worshipper.
That is sense gratification for Aditi, isn't it? For her children.
Sense gratification, yeah, you could say extended sense gratification to the children. Yeah, to her children. Correct. Is the affection.
Affection, yes.
Yeah. But in one sense, if she didn't have that affection, then the Lord wouldn't have come and Bali wouldn't have got his. It's all sort of interrelated. Sometimes the Lord just plays these. He puts people under different illusions. So maybe Aditi has just been put under another illusion that, yes, if I've seen the Lord, I shouldn't give up everything. I still want my sons to be victorious. Maybe the Lord has just put that, Maya in her. Otherwise, Bali wouldn't have received the ultimate mercy of the Supreme Lord. So it's very interconnected. It's very difficult to completely analyze it because there's so many varying factors, Okay. But if we just look at it from a cold eye, compare Dhruv and you compare Aditi, such a different level of devotion. So we have to, of course, aspire for, the Dhruv and the Prahlads, because that mood is such a nice mood. We're not imposing anything on you, my Lord. I don't want anything from you. I just want to serve you. That's all I want to do. You can't go wrong if you do that. Okay, anybody else? Any questions? Otherwise, we can go to the lessons and the instructions. Indulekha Maji?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Krishna. Okay, so Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, lessons from Canto 8, Chapter 1. If you want to listen to the pastime of the Lord to perfect this human life, we should inquire submissively from a bona fide spiritual master and carry out the instructions dutifully. Chapter 2, we are all living in the delusion that our wealth and family members will save us a time of danger, but actually only the Supreme Personality of Godhead can rescue us at all times. Chapter 3, our ultimate goal of life is to understand that we are all caught up by the eternal time and we may die at any moment. So we should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who can save us from this struggle of this material world. Chapter 4, if ever we are cursed by great devout personalities, we should accept it as a blessing in disguise because at the end, the outcome are very beneficial. Chapter 5, in this material world, possessing too much wealth is risky because one may become puffed up and may not care about others. Thus, one may commit offenses and may fall down. Chapter 6, it is nice to welcome others to our place, even if they are not our friends. We should try to know their intention as it could be for our own good. Chapter 7, at times we are not happy with what comes our way, thinking that the grass is green on the other side, but the Lord has his own plans for us. Chapter 8, sometimes we may think that we are the controller of our lives, but we are controlled by desires. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a true controller. Ishvara Parama Krishna. The Supreme Controller is Krishna. Chapter 9, the Lord always protects his devotees, even though both devotees and non-devotees may be performing the same activities in the same field, but the devotees achieve better results at the end. Chapter 10, it doesn't matter how powerful some living entities may be, but if they don't take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are never successful. Chapter 11, everyone is struggling to exist in this battlefield of life, thinking the power only. But no one is independent since everyone is subject to the material nature. Chapter 12, to be freed from the dualities of material desires, one needs to simply engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without any personal desire for sense gratification. Chapter 13, many people use different kinds of yoga practices to achieve some success in life, but all these are temporary. Our ultimate goal should be to attain the favor of the Lord. Chapter 14, this present age is an unlimited ocean of faults, and our eternal occupational duty is to serve the Lord, who will surely liberate us from the miseries of this material world. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Very good. Madhusan Prabhu?
Okay, Haribo, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
This situation between demigods and Bali Maharaj is amazing. In the 15th chapter, then Srila Prabhupada actually explains that in the purport that Brahaspati informed Indra that Bali Maharaj's prowess was not his own, due to his own, because that was, but that of his exalted Guru Sukracharya. So Bali Maharaj is pleased Sukracharya has blessed him and all that. And then he had gained that much power to take over Indra's palace and kingdom and everything. So, and then they were all in hiding, had become invisible. So they used that power to actually hide like that. But that situation had to be somehow resolved, so that's why we feel that, Aditi had to do that tapasya and then vrat and all that, and then try and get this thing resolved. So Krishna has his own plans, but we also sing in the daily prayers, where the Sansara Rava prayers early in the morning, that, we say, Yasya Prasada, Bhagavad Prasada, Yasya Prasada, Nagati Kutopi. So by the pleasure of the spiritual master, one can get extraordinary powers, especially in spiritual advancement. The blessings of the spiritual master are more powerful than one's personal endeavor for such advancement. So Narottam Das Thakur also says that Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Sitete Kore Aikya Arana Ko Mane Asa. So we sing that prayer, the Guru prayer, So in that prayer also, it is said that for spiritual advancement, one should carry out bona fide, we should seek out a bona fide spiritual master, and then should please him, and then with his blessings, then, we will make spiritual advancement. So that's chapter 16 then. One's aim should be to achieve liberation. But because one cannot at once give up sense gratification, in the Shastras, there are injunctions prescribing how to follow the principles of religion, economic development, sense gratification, all that. So it's like being a Grihastha rather than a Griha Medi, which is what Kashyapa Muni was trying to understand. It's why Griha Medi, what's happening here, So as explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Dharmasya hi apavargasya nartho artha piyar kalpa. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for the ultimate liberation. So one should never be performed for material gain. So even though, we might be sometimes, tangled up in material life and all that, but there is a process, and Shastra recommends that we follow that process for making advancement towards in spiritual life. So, but certainly, gaining the spiritual master's blessings is one of the best ways to make spiritual advancement. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Haribo, Hare Krishna. Hope that's useful.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Anybody, any questions, any comments? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj ki jai. Where is this thing? Stop share. 1 second to me.